I want to go back to, you had mentioned something about Leaky and kind of how he was spaced and how he was, kind of, he was in the right place, but maybe the defense didn't respect as much as you kind of see the respect that you see kind of, you saw some in this first game. I think the biggest comparison, I think, when you look at this team is probably Harrison when it comes to kind of being in that role. I mean, when you look at the starting five that they had outside of Mondo, he was probably the person that the other team feels like they can help off of or shift off of or whatever, just because I mean, you've got 40% 3-point shooters outside of him, so you've got to win with something. And so I think there was a few times, and obviously it depends on what the sets are, but there were a few times where you just saw Harrison in different places that were a threat for whatever particular play they were in. So you might see Harrison, you might see him, space to the corner. So that opens up more spacing, for Mondo inside. But you also saw him too, kind of in the dunker area, which for most, fans that might not know what the dunker area is, it's kind of that where you see the lower block in the paint. It's kind of right below that where you kind of can put a big man or somebody like that to kind of space and keep their defender low so they can't just help on everything else. So when you kind of saw him, he was kind of in the dunker for some of the pick and roll actions, which for me, when I see that, it's just finding different ways to, keep the help off of Mondo and RJ in that pick and roll. And so I think just seeing him in those different spots and seeing him, maybe in a pick and roll or pick and pop situation or just the versatility that he showed, I think is going to be, for me, kind of the X factor for this team. That kind of, takes me into kind of what my second point was. Obviously, the catalyst is RJ and Mondo. I don't think that changes at all. The ship kind of, it goes with them. And so I think that's always got to be the constant. But when you look at kind of the X factor and the guy who can kind of take it, take this team kind of to that next level, obviously outside of the shooting that Cormac and Pax and everybody else that can shoot the ball bring, I think Harrison is kind of that guy. You look like I talked about offensively, being able to space, being able to play multiple positions. I think another big thing for him and something he did at Stanford too was being a playmaker. So if Elliott's not on the floor and it's that starting five that started this last game when it was RJ, Cormac, Pax, Harrison, and Mondo. Now you have another playmaker that can take the pressure off of RJ, and RJ can just be a scorer, which is his biggest strength. Um, and so I think that just is a totally different aspect to the team that, obviously they had Caleb the past couple of years who was, a secondary ball handler, but, somebody who's really looking to get other guys involved. I think he's going to be huge for that. So I'm excited to kind of see how, against, better competition and against teams that, kind of scout them out a little bit more and have more time to scout them out, how he's able to um, really make those things happen. But I think he can really do some big things for this team.